Hi everyone, my name is Iben and welcome to another recap video in the road to Planet Zoo 2. We've learned a whole bunch of really cool new things about Planet Zoo 2, and in this video I want to quickly recap everything that we've seen this week, so let's dive into that. And dive in we shall. We get our first look at the Hammerhead in action, and we can also see the underwater tunnels for the very first time, and I'm really excited about that. We saw hints of that in the UI, we had it mentioned in an article, but it's really cool to finally see it confirmed. What I like about them a lot is the fact that they look very plain. They don't look like they're overly themed or anything, so you can really adjust them to your own liking, and that is something that I really appreciate. We also saw the underwater feeder that this shark uses, and it's very much the same as the underwater feeder that we saw in the first game. It's not the most realistic way to approach these things, but hey, it's a game. I know that we have to compromise a little bit. Moving on, we got our next Zupedia teaser, and alright Frontier, we got a little bit smug about the last two teasers. I get that we guessed them quite quickly, but this is the opposite. I've seen people say many different things, from many different kind of fish to this being the fangs of a snake, to some people even saying things like butterflies and bats. I personally am leaning towards Asian arowana. If you look at the fin in this picture, I really think it matches up with the fin that we see right here. And honestly, it's an animal that would work in Planet Zoo 2. It's an Asian temperate fish. I believe it's also found in Sumatra, and we've gotten the Sumatran tiger, which we all kind of feel like means we're also getting like Sumatran reserve. So that would match up for me. That would make sense. But I absolutely don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think it's going to be, because I don't know it. Not at all. I'm not that much of a fish person. I like them, but I'm not able to identify them like a lot of people are able to do. And now that we've seen the teaser and talked about it, let's move on and look at the Zupedia. We're starting off with one of the coolest things in my opinion, which is the reveal of the brand new lion. Now, we've already really talked about this in the previous video, but I once again want to showcase how much of a difference it is. So looking back at the old lion and comparing it with the new one, it's absolutely incredible. It looks so good, and I absolutely love how the light works on the manes of this animal. It just looks so freaking good. I am really happy with all the updates that they did to the textures, the models, and the animation for this animal. I think it's really one of the biggest glow-ups that we've seen so far. Moving on to the Eurasian brown bear. This is an animal that I actually kind of hoped was going to be added to the game, but of which I was kind of expecting that it wouldn't have been added to the game. So I'm actually quite happy about this addition. I think this looks a lot better than the bears that we've had before, at least the brown bears that we've had before. And whilst I initially felt like the eyes might look a little bit weird, comparing it to a real-life Eurasian brown bear, I do think it matches up quite well, actually. There is a little bit of a difference here, of course, between the fur, but that could also just be brought in using a color variation. One thing that I am wondering, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in the second section of this video, in which we go over the journal that they published, whether the bears will have a form of hibernation and will change the way they look throughout the seasons. I know that there are zoos in the world, like Ouwehans in the Netherlands, where bears actually start hibernating again, which is an amazing thing, and I would really love to see that in a zoo environment, but especially in a wildlife reserve, that would be really cool. And I think that might have been one of the reasons why these new interactions, depending on the seasons, were introduced to begin with, to get a realistic wildlife reserve. The red deer is an animal that we've seen a while ago already, and I'm not really going to spend much time looking at it. Compared to the old model, I think it looks pretty much the same. We probably will get the same variants again, so that's a good thing to me. It wasn't an animal that I necessarily needed at the start of the game, but with the new wildlife reserve feature, I do understand why it was added. I think it looks good, and hopefully we get more of these kinds of animals in the future. I would really love to see an American elk. That would have been really cool instead, but hey, the red deer is also a really cool animal. The common blue tongue is one of the DLC exhibit animals that is returning, if I remember it correctly, and this is a screenshot from Steam. If you have been wondering why these screenshots look slightly different than the ones on the Zupedia, that's the reason. On Steam they actually showcase us pictures that are a little bit larger and show a little bit more, and for me that was really interesting, because if we look at this setup and we compare it to the old setup of a common blue tongue in Planet Zoo 1, then at least it does look different. There are different types of rocks in this setup. The animal really is on these rocks, so like at least we have some form of confirmation that we are getting some form of exhibit rework, because this exhibit animal is in a different environment than it used to be. Doesn't have to mean that it's going to be a radical change or anything, but at least with this image we know that it has been changed. That's a good thing to start with. Moving on to the golden poison frog, I think it's a really cool addition. I really liked the animal in the first game, and I do think it's pretty much the exact same model and texture. In my opinion, that's perfectly fine. This animal looked fine in the first game, and I didn't expect them to radically change it for the sequel. I think it looks really cool. The hawksbill turtle is another animal that we've known about for quite a while now. We've seen it since the first trailer, I believe, and I still think it looks pretty darn amazing if you compare it to the real life animal, and I didn't really take the best picture for this. I think it looks pretty spot on. I've really liked the way it looked so far, and I really like how the light interacts with the shell of the turtle. It looks really, really beautiful. The blue wildebeest was one of the best animals added in the first game, and I'm really happy that this is the one that's returning to Planet Zoo 2. I really think it looks so good, and it looks even better in the new engine of Planet Zoo 2 compared to how it looked before. I do think there are some small changes, probably to the beard and the overall fur, but I think all in all it looks almost the same. But frankly, there was no need to completely redo this animal. It already looked pretty cool when it was released in the first game, so I don't think they needed to do like a massive improvement on these. It already looked amazing. And of course, no zoo game can start without a zebra, and the plain zebra makes its return as well. And once again, and I'm so sorry to the person who is taking these pictures, once again, I don't think this is a great picture to showcase these animals. I think it has looked a lot better in other pieces of footage that we've gotten so far. But still, if you look at the old animal and compare it to the new one, it's an absolute massive glow up. I'm really happy that they put in so much work to make this animal look so much better, because just look at it, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I really love the hairs on the muzzle. I think that is a wonderful addition that they've been adding to a lot of animals, and I think that's really, really cool. And that brings me to the second section of this video, because they released a whole bunch of information about the new animals in Planet Zoo 2, and I'm really happy about that, because we got a lot of the information that is in here in our creator event in March, and I'm really glad that they also took the time to pass this information on to the rest of the players, because it's a really interesting read. I'm not going to go through every single detail of this page. I really encourage you to read it yourself because it's really interesting, but I do want to highlight a few things. An interesting piece of information that the article starts with is the fact that Planet Zoo 1 is a game that was worked on over 7 years ago. That's a massively long time in terms of development, both software and game development, so it's incredible how much things have changed, because if you look at the lioness, the lion cub, and the original lion and just compare it to the new animal, it's night and day. It's absolutely incredible. It's really cool to see how much has been changed in these past 7 years, how much upgrades we've gotten so far, and I'm really interested in learning even more about this game in the future. One thing that people had pointed out in the comment section of my previous video is that I completely missed the fact that some animals can exhibit visual pregnancies, and I really like this. This is such a cool addition to the game. This is something that I worked on in Zoo Tycoon 2 all the way back with the mods that I did back then, and seeing it now in a game like Planet Zoo 2 is really cool. It just changes everything for me. Like, instead of having to look at a UI, you can actually just see it in the animal. An important thing to keep in mind is that this is limited to some animals, and I feel that is a justified decision. Some animals just show this a lot better than other animals. If you were walking into a zoo and a zookeeper would have pointed out to you that an elephant has been pregnant for over a year, there's a small chance that you would have actually noticed it. So for animals like that, where the pregnancy isn't really that overly visible, I'm completely fine with it. Then we get to see this really cute animation where there is a social interaction between the young animal and the male, and I think it's really cool. And it also really showcases how the mane is constructed with something that we call hair cards. It's a really cool technology if you ask me, and I think it looks really good in the end result. This section about the audio is also something that I think is really interesting. This is one of the things that we got a presentation on during our event in March, and this was one of those moments where I was like, wow, the first game already did such a great job, and now you're improving it even more. I distinctly remember that the developer who did a presentation on it was like, yeah, the previous game, it was okay, but this is much better. And in my mind I was thinking, what are you talking about? The first game did an incredible job when it comes to sound design. And to hear and to read that things have been improved even more is one of the coolest things to me. It really shows that they can be critical even about things that were already pretty great. So I'm really happy about that. Really give this a read because it's really interesting. Another big change for me is that they basically rewritten the entire animal brain of the animals in Planet Zoo. And they are now in a much more dynamic system that actually takes things into account, like the time of day, the season, the weather, the internal state, and even actions that they performed previously. So it shouldn't feel that much like a repeated loop. It should feel much more random than it did before. Another thing that I think is really interesting is that there were certain parts of the behavior that were tied to specific things, like being on the ground and in a shelter defined whether an animal could sleep or not. And now with the new system, they can specify unique cases for a specific situation an animal can find in. I really genuinely hope that this means that we'll see crocodilians and hippos sleep at the bottom of a water body. That would be incredible. It's something that I've been wanting for quite a while now, and I genuinely hope that this is something that is going to be added to the game. Another thing that I really like is what they mentioned right here. They have slightly detached the behavior system from the animal welfare system so that you get less of a loop and that you get a little bit more realistic behaviors, and also showcase a bit more diversity in all the behaviors that the animals can do. It's not just driven by the welfare anymore. They can actually do some random stuff from time to time. What I also really liked is the fact that they mentioned that the original Planet Zoo featured social animations, but that for Planet Zoo 2 they wanted to make that even more interesting, and they have a whole bunch of really cool things that they are adding to the game, which is really cool to me because I always felt like animals didn't really interact enough with each other, and now things can actually influence each other much more. Like for instance, an animal can lead another animal to water, or if an animal knocks a enrichment in item to a sleeping animal, that animal might wake them up, and things can happen after that, and that's really interesting, and I really want to see more of that. If you haven't read this journal yet, please do, because there's a lot of interesting information in here, and it really gives you a glimpse into all of the work that has gone into creating Planet Zoo 2 and all of the amazing animals that are going to be in the game. So please go and give it a read. You will find the link to this page in the description, and let me know what you think of it. Thank you all so much for watching. Do everything you want to do, like, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in another video in the road to Planet Zoo 2 so that we can all keep up to date about this incredible new game. See you soon.